I should say hosted by AAPL, but presented by Jean Guarino. It is the good versus evil of lending and investing in ALF, or assisted living facilities. I'm going to be your moderator or your host today. I'm Kirsty Breaux with the American Association of Private Lenders, Director of Marketing and Education Services. And if you hang around to the end of today's presentation, I'll have a little offer for you from AAPL, and we'll also talk about a couple of the other presentations that we have coming up shortly. So before I go any further, I want to, whoa, somehow I went back. I'm sorry about that. I want to go ahead and review the functionality to the GoToWebinar toolbar. So we do want your active participation. It's really important to us throughout the presentation. But we will probably answer most of the questions at the end of the presentation. Ask them when you have them, but there is a possibility that as Gene is talking through his presentation that he will already answer that. My colleague Linda is also on the line, so we will go ahead and we will respond to you when we see your questions come in. But all you have to do is raise your hands, and then if you have a question, type it right there in the question section of your, I think we call this a toolbar for the GoToWebinars. And then if you have comments, questions, or feedback, always feel free to ask socially using hashtag AAPLWebinar or emailing us at info@AAPL, where are we? info@AAPLonline.com. So many email addresses to try to remember anymore. Mm. So without going very further, we're going to go ahead and say thank you to Gene for, actually this is his second presentation for us. He did, should we call it the first of the series?
Yeah, sure.
Just about a month ago for introducing people to ALF investments and following up today. So Gene, if you would like to tell the group about who you are and get going.
You got it. I will take it from here. Well, thank you so much. Just tell me when you can see the screen so I make sure you're good.
I can see it.
Awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. And I guess I'm the host, so it's an open bar, and there's mimosas and margaritas, anyway, depending on what part of the country you're in. So I appreciate you being here. And, yeah, we did do a Section 1 last time, and it was all about owning the business. So if you own the business, the opportunities in it, and so on. Today we're going to talk about, if you decide that you want to invest in or lend on one of these facilities, the good versus the evil. What are we looking for? What's important? So as I go through this, I really do encourage you to do some questions. We've got plenty of opportunity for the Q&A at the end, but feel free to type those in. And if I see them, I will incorporate them. Otherwise, we'll save it to the end. So I do want to make sure you have just a little bit of background on me. I've been in real estate for a long, long time. I'm 103, so it's been like 75 years. I'm kidding. Anyway, I did my first residential real estate at 18, my first commercial real estate at 25. I've had 16 businesses over the past 35 years, professional musician, record label, recording studio, real estate. I'm a certified financial planner in 2 countries, the U.S. as well as in Australia. I've trained over 250,000 people and mentored thousands and thousands, written 4 books, working on 2 more, and I've hosted 2 radio shows. Been married for 29 years to the trophy bride of my life. I happened to win early. And 29 years, it'll be 30 years this August. 4 wonderful kids and 1 grandbaby. It says this August, but she's going to be 2 years old this August, so it's incredible. And I give you a little bit of background so you know who you're listening to, but also when we talk about assisted living, it all starts somewhere. We start as kids and we kind of end up as kids, needing help beginning to end. So we're going to jump right into it right here, and what are the returns? I was at the National Convention for the Assisted Living Federation of America in Tampa earlier in the month, and when we were there, one of the slides that came out, I said, I've got to have this. So this slide right here shows you the returns, and the returns in all the different categories of, in essence, real estate. And when we talk about the big guys, the hedge funds, the REITs, where are they investing? You see apartments and hotels and industry, industrial property, office, retail, and senior housing is the black one. So you can see right there in the 1 year, beat it handily. 3 year, beat it. Even in the 5 year and the 10-year period. So in a 10-year period, over 14% is the average return from senior housing, which includes assisted living facilities, which is specifically what we're going to talk about. So how big is this opportunity? Well, You know, we've all heard of the baby boomers, but putting some numbers to it really helps. 77 million baby boomers. It's a mega trend. Those born between 1946 and 1964, 10,000 people a day today are turning 65 years old. So happy birthday to 10,000 people, 65 years old. About 4,000 a day are turning 85 years old. And that's significant because when you're 65, you got plenty of pep, plenty of life. You might be living in senior housing of a different kind of independent living where they all kind of live in a community, enjoy the same types of things. Like in Florida is a massive city, and that is right there for them. It's there for seniors 55 and above, so that's there, but that's not what we're talking about. By the time you're 85, you need more help. And sometimes the kids can't come over every day to take care of mom and dad or make sure the medication is being taken care of, or maybe they need even more help bathing or bathrooming or eating itself. So 4,000 people a day turning 85, and 70% of them are going to need help. So average 3.5 years for those activities of daily living. All those things we talked about, brushing your teeth, changing yourself, doing laundry, eating, and so on. So it's a huge, massive opportunity, and that's why the big guys are getting in. And how big will this really be? Well, in 2010, according to the census, the last that was done, there was 40,300,000 people over the age of 65 in the U.S. In 2014, it's estimated to be 56 million. That's a huge increase. But over the course of the next 15 years, we're going to add just about that many more, another 54 million, for a total of 110 million people over 65. Then that's impressive, and I also want to open your mind, blow it out a little bit here. Internationally, there's more seniors in China right now than there is people in the U.S. right now. When they do assisted living facilities, it's for thousands of people at a time. The opportunity is huge. This year alone, I've spoken not only in the U.S., but also in Panama, in the Caribbean, talking about doing it internationally. So you can do this in the U.S., and it's huge. You can also do it internationally, and it's even bigger. So where's the big money investing right now? In the fourth quarter of last year, there was $15 billion in senior housing development. It's a $300 billion industry. It's absolutely enormous. The best performing real estate sector for institutional investors over the past 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year time frames. You saw the chart. 3 of the largest REITs right now are health care and senior housing. 3 of the largest. Fared really well during the recession. You know, and the whole market crashed in a lot of areas. I'm here in Arizona. We were like #1 for going down to the bottom, which was awesome. 91% occupancy rates is the norm. Dropped to about 87% at the bottom of the recession. In addition to that, the rates just keep going up, normally about 4% a year. But during the recession, they dropped down to about 2%. Now they're back to 3%. So the rates are growing, meaning how much somebody pays each month to be in one of these homes. So it's a huge opportunity, and the big boys see it. Now, we're not going to talk about or focus on what the big guys are doing, because what they do is things like independent living communities. It's kind of like an apartment complex or a townhome community for seniors over 55. That's one way to go. That's not what I focus on, not what I'm going to share about here, but that's perfectly fine. Then there is assisted living. Assisted living is where they do need some help. They need some help with their activities of daily living. And then there's nursing homes, which we're not going to talk about. That is medical, and that's not what we do. And then there's something called a CCRC, which is a continuous care for the elderly. So it's a continuous care community for the elderly, and it takes somebody from independent living to assisted living into the nursing home, all within one community. So that's where the big money goes. What I focus on is the residential care home, which is a single-family residence with seniors inside. So it's a single-family home, and it's a group residence for seniors, providing assistance in their activities of daily living. That's one of the acronyms you see quite a bit, ADL, Activities of Daily Living. So it's a home. It's a regular home, just like the ones that you and I live in, you and I know very well. Here's a picture of one of my assisted living care homes in Arizona. Now, this home itself, when I bought it, was 4,800 square feet, pretty big on a 1 level. So in a lot of areas of the country, there's 2-level homes or even 3-level homes. 1 level is obviously better for seniors without the stairs, easier accessibility, easier to get up and down. You can do it in a 2-story or a 3-story building, but single level is better. 4,800 square feet, that's a big home. They don't make them like that all over, but there's definitely neighborhoods right in your own city that do have large homes, large single-level homes, or large homes or homes on a large lot where you could expand the home. The easiest expansion is into the existing building, so whether it be an attached garage or a porch area. But if it's just a 3-2, just a breeder box as I call it, just a basic home, 1,500, 2,000 square feet, but it's on a nice lot, you could put a huge extension off the back of the property and put in 8 or 10 bedrooms. Now, that may sound excessive for the neighborhood, and it would be. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about, the good versus evil of lending on or investing in these. So we're going to talk about that. But behind the doors, once you walk into a home like this, it still looks like a home. So this is the front room of one of my homes here. We call it Adagio Gardens Central. And you walk inside, and it's a nice home. Now, through that doorway over there is a nice group of people. So here's the residents. They're living in a home. That happens to be St. Patrick's Day. So they're having a beverage. It's not a hospital. They're not in gurneys and wheelchairs and so on. They're enjoying their life, living here in this home, and they're paying $4,000 a month on average to stay there. Now, the kids come to visit. They may enjoy themselves for a few hours or stay even overnight, maybe across the street in a hotel. But in this home here, there's 10 seniors living there, paying an average of $4,000 apiece. Here they are on Easter, decorating Easter eggs. So again, it's a home. They're not ready for a nursing home. It's more than the Golden Girls. It's something in between. So here it is, your average nursing home. It looks like a prison. Put some barbed wire on the top and some turrets up there, and it could be one. This is the Golden Girls, a TV show from the 70s, where 4 mature women live together in a home, loving each other, caring for each other in that home. So what we do is something in between. Here's one of my other homes in Phoenix, Arizona. This one is a little over 4,000 square feet, 10 bedrooms, 6 baths. And you might be thinking, well, Gene, there's no 10-bedroom homes in my area. Well, this didn't start as a 10-bedroom home. It was a 4-bedroom home. But then there was an addition, then the garage was converted, so now it's 10 bedrooms and 6 baths. This is that 4,800 square foot home. It started off when I bought it as a 5-bedroom, 5-bath home. That's a lot of bathrooms. Well, now it has 7 bathrooms and 9 bedrooms. This one here was 5,100 square feet, 5-bedroom, 5-bath in Scottsdale, Arizona. But we renovated or converted the garage, which is a huge 4-car garage, and put 4 additional bedrooms there, 2 Jack and Jill baths. We expanded 1 bedroom to make it a second master, converted an office into a bedroom, added a bathroom there. There's now 11 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms. So it's licensed for 10. You can have 10 people in it, and they pay an average of $5,000 per person to live there. So that's what we're looking at. And the primary concerns for any lender when you're looking at somebody is, number one, collateral. What is it that I'm going to fall back on if this person doesn't pay me the money? Another one is the credit. Is this person credit worthy? Do they have bankruptcies in their background? Have they stiffed other people? Might they stiff me? Another one is the cash flow. If I'm lending and you're going to be renting it out, whether it's a single-family home or apartments or mobile home or, in this case, an assisted living care home, what's the income? And then another one, experience. Have you ever done this before? If you're dealing with a potential borrower, you're the lender and you're looking for a borrower, do you want somebody who's got a lot of experience, track record, or somebody who's brand new? And then team, who do they have besides themselves? It's all about the people. Now I'm going to go at this presentation completely different than what I did last time, because if you want to learn how to do this as a business and make huge money, watch that one. I'm sure that Chrissy can make it available to you online. It's probably there in your resources. Watch that. I'll explain it to you. You can come to my website and learn more. But today's presentation is about if you want to be the private lender on that real estate, or if you want to own the real estate and lease it to the person operating the business. So we're going to look at it from that perspective. We're going to look at each one of these items. So first, let's talk about the collateral. So it's a single-family home, but what makes a good assisted living property? Well, one is location. All real estate, it comes down to location, but it's a little different with the assisted living, because I'm going to be looking for, can I do it in this home, meaning the assisted living facility? Can I get the zoning that I need? Now, the zoning isn't a permanent change. In most cases, it's simply changing from R1 to R2 or R3 to R4, something simple like that. Because of the Fair Housing Act, you can do this in any residence, so even with a homeowners association. But I like to stay away from neighborhoods with homeowners associations for lots of different reasons. But in this case, it just makes it a whole lot easier. So the zoning in Arizona, for instance, you can't have one home next to another. So there has to be some distance in between care homes, might be a quarter of a mile. Scottsdale, it's 500 feet. Unless it's on the same road frontage, then it's 750 feet. So homeowners associations, most of them say you can't run a business out of your home. Well, got it. So that means the accountant can't have an office in their home either. But nobody's going to kick grandma out of the house, even in the homeowners association, but they can still give you a hard time. So that's why I'd rather stay away from the homeowners association. But the location that I'm looking for is in the right part of the state, right part of the city, right part of the town, right part of the neighborhood. So it's going to be well located. But there's some other things that I'm going to be even more concerned with when it comes to location. I'll come back to that. Size of the bedrooms. You know, I want normal sized bedrooms, big bedrooms. The more square footage, the better. It's more comfortable for somebody. Actually, for a care home, the bedrooms by law only have to be 10 by 10 of usable floor space, so not closet and so on. That's 100 square feet. That's a very small bedroom. So bigger is better because they're more comfortable, but I could also take a large bedroom and make it into 2 bedrooms by adding a door and a wall. Bathrooms. By law, you only need to have 1 toilet per 6 or 8 people, depending on the state you're in. So you literally could have a 2-bedroom house and have 10 people there, or 12 people there, even 16 people there in some states. I'm going to suggest that more bathrooms is better. So you can add bathrooms. To do that in the middle of a house is expensive, a little difficult. You can do it in other areas of the home, though, on kind of the exterior walls and get a lot easier access to the sewer line. So that's one of the things I teach people. Floors, doors. For a senior home, I want accessibility and safety. So if I have a wider hallway, it's better. It's easier to get down the hallway if I have a walker or if there's a wheelchair. If there's a wheelchair and I've got shag carpet from the 1970s, not good. I need either a very low nap carpet, commercial grade, or better yet, hardwood, or tile, or ceramic, or linoleum. The floors, smooth, hard. Doors, wide. 36 inches fine. That's the largest normal size door you can get at Home Depot without special order. General accessibility, is it easy enough to get around inside the home, or is it all chopped up? Fire suppression. Most homes don't have sprinklers, fire suppression systems. Most assisted living homes will, or you should put them in if they don't have it. Smoke detectors, not the kind you just screw to the wall and put a 9-volt battery in, the ones that are hardwired together so they operate together and maybe even have a monitoring system that if it does go off, somebody's going to be alerted. Grab bars. Actually, that's a good thing no matter what, around toilets and sinks and bathrooms and showers and so on. Flow of the home, does it make sense? You know, penalty lot, this is the one getting back to location. There's some houses that I know I have passed on because it's on a busy corner or it backs to a commercial parking lot or building. But for a care home, busy corner means easy accessibility for the kids to come to visit. Backing to that commercial parking lot or Kmart's or Walmart's, not a big deal for a care home. For your own residence, not so good. For the senior housing, perfectly fine. So when we talk about the home itself as collateral, that's the category we're in right now, does it make sense? You know, is this going to be a good home that I could resell as a single-family home if I need to? Potential to add space. So again, if it's a nice large lot, I'm looking for something where I can add square footage to. So those are all the things that make a good property for assisted living. So as you're looking to lend on it and use it as collateral, you know, you're just simply looking at it saying, is this thing designed specifically for the assisted living, or could it be converted to a single-family home and resold? So what does it look like inside? Well, I'm going to show you some interior pictures and show you some of the things you might see. Here's a normal bath, bathtub, walls, and so on. But in a senior home, you might take out the bathtub, put in a walk-in or a roll-in shower in its place. So you might look at that and say, well, where's the bathtub? That's not good. But when you think about it, well, that's pretty darn convenient, easy to get in, safe. The grab bars weren't even installed yet in that bathroom, but it just gives you the idea. You're going to have some grab bars on the wall as well. Now, if you want to convert it back to a single-family home, pretty easy to do. You can just put the tub right in there, tile it in, you're good to go. The drain is in place, everything is in the same location. In addition to that, we talked about, you know, renovating other bathrooms. Here's another picture right here. That's the old, that's the new. So just scrape out the vanity and that shower in the corner that looks like a stand-up coffin in pink. Get rid of that. That's a little joke. You can laugh now. It's all right. And you got a nice big roll-in shower here. So roll in, walk in, Nothing holding you back from getting in and easily using the bathroom itself. You don't need to have pedestal vanities. That's one thing that people assume in a senior home. Don't need to have it. That one, I do have one that has legs that go down just because of the exposure to the water right there. So again, a walk-in shower here. So that's a pretty easy example of what it looks like. Very easy to get in. You could reconvert it back, put a bathtub in or whatever you want to do, but that's not a bad thing in a single-family home of any kind. Ramps, you don't need to get crazy, but ramps just make things a whole lot easier. So for a senior home, you might see this. That ramp could be literally unscrewed, taken out, no problem, but that would be no problem in a regular single-family home. So I wanted to give you some pictures, and here's a nice wide door, 36-inch door, just showing you what it looks like in a bedroom. You can do that. Even if somebody decides to sell the house as a single-family home, not an assisted living facility, to have a doorway that's wider, have floors that are hard surfaces, to have a ramp at the front door, simple stuff, easy to do, and it's not going to harm or hurt the value. So these are just samples of assisted living facilities literally all over the country, from Scottsdale to Oregon to Florida and beyond. It just shows you that you may be living right next door to one and didn't know it. Now, the value of these, it's still going to be comparable to residential real estate. Even though when I go into the numbers or the cash flow part, you're going to see they're generating huge income, but it's a residential home. But the income that's generated if you're participating in the business is huge as well. So what that means is when we talk about the cash flow part, and we're going to get there in a minute, credit, it is what it is. Good, bad, or ugly, credit. But the cash flow part is huge in these homes. So I'm just going to lay out some numbers for you to get a feel. Because you as a lender, you as an investor, want to make sure that your tenant or your borrower is going to be able to pay you back. Paying you back is, their character, the fourth C right there. But, the cash flow, do they have enough money coming in? Well, I'm going to go through some numbers and give you an idea of what these homes generate. This is the national median average as of the end of 2014, $3,500. So that's for an individual in a private room. Now, for a nursing home, it's twice that. This is for an assisted living facility, a care home. So $3,500. Now, I put a pyramid together here to help explain this to you. Down on level 1, less than $2,000. If somebody wants the state to pay for them, where they can't pay for themselves, they don't have their own money or assets, most states have a program that's funded through Medicare, Medicaid, through the feds, money given to the state, then it's passed on to the individuals in the state. So you basically have to be poor or you don't have any assets. They will pay $1,000 to $2,000 a month for you to live in someone else's assisted living facility. So that's kind of the lowest. Everybody can afford that because the state will pay for it. I don't focus on that. That's not what I'm going to suggest you would focus on. It's not the home I'd even want you to make the loan on. Level 2. They're paying a little bit more. Maybe part of it is assisted, meaning subsidized by VA. Maybe it's by Medicaid, Medicare. Maybe it's just that they're willing to pay more. Private pay. Private pay is where an individual is paying for it or their kids are paying for it as opposed to it being subsidized through the VA or the Medicaid and so on. Now, level 3 and 4, notice I've got it in green. This is what I call the sweet spot. So I teach my students who do this as a business, that's what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is this level. We still have a good number of people. The pyramid's still wide enough. A good block of people that can afford $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a month for mom to stay in that home. So we're not at the top of the level where it's 10,000 plus. So that sweet spot, that nice home, and the ones that I showed you all fall in that category. It's all private pay where families or people are paying $3,000 to $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 a month to stay in that home. Now, you might be wondering, who in the world has that kind of money to pay? Well, you know what? You're going to have to figure it out for your folks or for yourself at some point. So if you don't have long-term care insurance, you may be stuck with that level 1, whatever the government pays, and then you're going to be living in the bad end of town in a shared room with 1 bathroom per 8 people. I don't want to put my mom there, and you don't want to put your mom there, or dad, or let alone yourself. So the sweet spot is level 3 and 4. So from a lending perspective, the income is huge, and that's what I'm going to focus on right there is those kind of incomes. So how do people pay for it? Well, they could have cash and savings, their IRAs and so on. Long-term care insurance costs about $5,000 a year. It pays an average of $200 a day for an average of 2 years. So that's $6,000 a month. So you can live in a nice place if you have long-term care insurance. Some long-term care insurance policies pay much more than $200 a day, and they go for up to a lifetime. Once you check in, your bill is paid. You don't have to worry about it at all. I've got a gentleman who moved into one of my homes recently, $227 a day, lifetime benefit. I hope he stays there for a decade. Perfectly fine with me. Sell their home. So the older person who's now moving into the assisted living may have a home that they've owned for 40 or 50 years, own it free and clear. That's something that can be sold, and then they can use that money to pay for the assisted living. That's obviously a way that you can also participate in the real estate if you own that business and say, tell you what, you don't have to worry about it. We'll just take the home and we'll sell it, and we'll use that money for paying for your care, and we'll either take care of you for a lifetime, or it'll be much reduced, or we'll figure it out. So there's a real estate play there as well. Life insurance policies, a big mistake that a lot of seniors make, and even their kids. And I'm 54, so I'm the kid of the senior, right? They're 85 and I'm 55. Saying, you know what, we want to dilute their assets to the point where we give everything away to the kids. There's now a 5-year look back, so we have to wait 5 years. We'll give all the money and assets away so mom doesn't own anything. We'll wait 5 years, and then we'll go to the state, and the state will pay for mom to live forever. Well, now you're right back to where we started, which is the $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So it's not really a good plan if they actually think it through. Better plan, number one, if you qualify for that, you cannot have life insurance. So a lot of elderly people just let their life insurance policy lapse. Huge mistake, because that death benefit can be sold for 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. So they may be 85 years old and they're paying for a life insurance policy for $1 million death benefit. They're saying, I don't want to pay this 10 grand a year anymore. So they just ditch the policy, let it lapse. They could have sold it. It's called a viatical settlement. Sell it to people that buy the death benefit. They will simply buy that policy, and the day that person dies, they collect $1 million. What they're willing to pay today, based on their life expectancy and so on, is 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. So if you got the $1 million policy and you got $400,000 in the bank, that'll take care of a lot of years in an assisted living facility. But again, ignorance is not a good thing. Subsidized through Medicaid or the VA. The VA has something, a program that's available. When you have somebody who has served in active duty, they have aid and attendance care money that is provided for them. They have to jump through the hoops with the VA, and there's people that help them get through those hoops, but the VA may provide $1,000 a month, maybe $2,000 a month. Medicaid provides $1,000 or $2,000 a month. So subsidized. Maybe they want to stay in a place that costs $4,000, and they're collecting $1,000 or $2,000 from one of these two sources, so they can pay $2,000 and use $2,000 from their freebie, if you will. Or they can just get old and let the kids figure it out. And realistically, that's what a lot of people do. Hopefully that's not you, though. You're listening to me now and you realize, wow, I could do this. I could make a lot of money, and then I've got a place to move in when it's time for me. I'm not leaving my kids a problem. But you'll have to watch last month's presentation to learn how to do that. So let's go through it. The average is $3,500 a month per person per month. So that's a private person in a private room. In Arizona, we can get up to 10 people in a home. In Florida, you can have up to 20. Nebraska, 14. Texas, 16. Different states, different numbers. I'm going to use 10, makes the math easy. So if you're getting the average, and you can get twice the average, but let's just say it's the average of 3,500 times 10, that's a potential gross income of $35,000. Now, obviously, you have expenses. That's not just the rent check. You have expenses, overhead each month. When I talk about overhead, if you're operating this as a business, these are your typical expenses. The things you normally have in your own home: cable, food, activities, landscaping, utilities, maintenance on the property. The next one, business license renewal. If you are operating the business, you're going to pay that. It's about $1,000 a year. I budget $100 a month for it. Caregivers. If you've got one person in the home, you only need one caregiver. If I've got 4 or 5 people in the home, now I'm getting to the point where I need a second caregiver. So if I've got 10 people in the home, I'm going to have 2 caregivers during the day and 1 at night. And I'm going to suggest you would want to pay them as employees with workman's comp and FICA, because it protects you as the business owner. You want to have a facility manager. That's somebody that oversees the caregivers and the business itself. I don't want to be the operator of, I just want to be the owner of. So I'll look at the numbers, I'll do the books, I'll cut payroll checks, but I have a facility manager that oversees the caregivers. It could be a caregiver that has got the extra responsibility of being a facility manager. You got to budget in for vacancies and doing marketing, getting the word out. And again, these are all things that I go through in much greater detail with my trainings, but I'm just giving you an idea. Property insurance, liability insurance. The business itself has liability, and just like your real estate, you should have a liability policy. This type of business needs a liability policy. Not nearly as expensive as people think. It's about $1 a day per resident. So if you've got 10 residents in a month, you're spending $300 a month for that liability insurance. So if it's brand new, you might spend $1,000 for the year, less than $100 a month, because you're brand new, you have no residents. If you've got a full house and some experience, you might be paying $2,400 a year, so $200 a month. So I'm trying to overestimate a little bit and say it's under $1 per person per day, less than $300 a month. So when you add it all up, you could be spending $20,000 in expenses if you were operating this above board, doing it properly, paying people proper wages, feeding people good food, not stone soup, and doing it the right way. So $20,000. Keep in mind, it's not the day you open, it's $20,000. A lot of that is the caregivers and facility managers and vacancies. So those are factors that when the business is full, you've got 10 residents in there generating $35,000, your expenses are $20,000. Now we can cut those numbers down significantly by feeding them lesser food, less entertainment, being the caregiver or manager ourselves, doing it differently so we have little or no marketing at all, and so on. But again, I want to be realistic, and I want to put numbers in there that I think absolutely make sense that you can do. So the reality is somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for expenses. So I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to use the high number, $20,000 in expenses. So the last thing we need to talk about is the debt service. So if you are the lender, and that's what we're talking about, if you're the lender and somebody's going to pay you back, there needs to be plenty of cash flow. So 35 minus 20, there's $15,000 available there. If somebody's renting the property, there's got to be plenty of money there. If you're an investor in real estate and want to lease the property to them. Now keep in mind, these homes that we talk about might have a fair market rent of $2,500 a month, but you could charge that tenant, the owner of that business who's going to be the operator, twice that, $5,000 a month. And I put that number in there because you can do that and they're still going to make a boatload of money. So even with $5,000 for debt service, which is a pretty significant interest rate or significant size of loan, or the rent being $5,000, that operator's still making 10 grand a month, 120 a year. So those are the numbers, and that's the average number right there. So let me blow your mind a little bit and take you a step up. I'm going to Texas tomorrow to do a presentation teaching people how to do it there in Texas. I've done it many times, and they come to Arizona for my training. But in Texas, the average is $3,950, in Dallas specifically. So $3,950, not $35, $3,950. So $3,950, and they are not limited to 10. They could have 16 people in a home. So $3,950, just the average number at 16 people is gross income potential of $63,200. So my expenses, I went from 20 to 28.2, two reasons. One, I'm going to have a little more vacancy because I simply have more beds. Instead of 10, I've got 16. But also, it makes my math easy. So I want to make it bigger, even more conservative. And debt service, let's double it from there. Let's say we're in a massive place, a beautiful mansion, and we're spending 10 grand a month. Their net cash flow in that business is $25,300 a year. And that's about a 40% net on the revenue of that business. That's a serious income. So if you did just one of these as a business, you personally could be set for life. But that person who's paying you, you're the lender, they're the borrower, you're the owner of the property, they're the tenant. You want to make sure that they have significant cash flow to be able to pay you twice over. So the debt service ratio, normally people require 1.3 to 1.7. So how about debt service ratio of 2 or 3 or 4? You're very safe in that loan. I'm going to give you one more. I was in Omaha, Nebraska recently, and we were doing numbers there. In the neighborhood we were looking at, they were getting $6,000 per person. In that state, you can have 14 people. So in that home, it's $84,000 gross income, and I upped it to make the math easy again, $29,000 minus 10 for the debt service, $45,000 a month. One business earning you $250,000 net. I mean, these numbers are phenomenal, and that's just it. This is where this industry is at. This is what we're talking about. So when we talk about the good versus evil of, making these loans or making sure that the person can pay, well, number one, it's a single-family home. So typically you're looking for 70, 80% loan to value. So they're going to have some skin in the game. Credit. Yeah, some people have good credit, some have great, some have okay, some have poor. You make your own decision as a private lender. Cash flow. It's going to be minimal at first, and that's something you need to understand. If this person is just starting that business, it's going to be minimal cash flow coming in. They're going to have money going out. If you're going to invest in the property and then lease it to this operator, you might do something where it's, let's have a reduced rent for the first 3 months or 6 months, maybe even no rent for the first 3 months, reduced for the next 3, and then it's twice the fair market rent for the rest of your life. That's a beautiful thing. When it's up and running, 2+ on the debt service ratio. Experience. If this person is a brand new operator and they have no experience at all, well, have they been trained? Are they supported? That's what I do. I train people, I support people so they can do this with a base of knowledge and borrowing my experience. So I become part of their team. So the borrower, is it just them? Do they have any experience? Do they have a team of people around them? So when I do my trainings, it's interesting because in the room, I'll have private lenders, I'll have real estate investors, and I'll have operators. Some want to be operators and real estate investors. Some just want to be lenders. But what I find invariably is that the lenders, once they go through the training and they see what the training is and the people that have gone through it and what they know and the support they've got, they pretty much carte blanche say, I'll lend you the money. I'll give you 70%. I'll give you 80%. It's not a question because they know the business, they understand how it works, and they have a level of comfort. So it's a great place for them to come to learn, but also to get that level of comfort and to find some potential clients right there in the class as well. So how can you participate in this mega trend? The baby boomers, the aging of our population. They're just not making inventory the way they used to. Families aren't as big as they used to be. I grew up in a family with 7 brothers and sisters. My wife, 7 brothers and sisters. We've got 4 kids, and that's unusual in this day and age. It's more like 1 or 2. So they're not making new inventory, new people, but the people that are here were lasting longer. People are healthier, they're eating better, they're living longer for all kinds of reasons. So the population is shifting from newborns to elderly, which is a huge opportunity for us. That's why the REITs and the hedge funds are putting in billions, and there's $300 billion in this industry already, and it's just growing and growing and growing. So how can you participate? Hey, you can invest in a fund and make your 6, 8, 10, 12%. You could own the real estate and lease it to the assisted living facility operator. You could own and operate the assisted living facility. So when I was showing you those numbers, $10,000, $25,000, $45,000 per month net income, that's you owning and operating. You could be a lender, which is what we're talking about here, securing that real estate. You can lend on the real estate and also on the business, charge a higher interest rate for that business. Or you could do nothing, ignore it all, get old, let your kids figure it out. Hey, it's their problem. I take care of them, now it's their turn to take care of me. So you decide how you want to do that. But at this point, we've gone through a lot of information, and I know you have some questions. I've literally just kind of touched the tip of the iceberg, and the more you know, the better off you are. So I'll show you how you can learn more after the fact. But at this point, Chrissy, we're not switching screens yet, but what I want to do is just kind of open it up for Q&A. Anybody who has questions, this is a great time to ask, and I'll answer those questions because usually that's where the best learning comes, when you ask questions. So now is your opportunity. Are you there, Chrissy? Just so I know.
I am. I'm here.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't leave you.
Well, I didn't hear anything. It wasn't even heavy breathing going on in the back, so I didn't know. Right.
One of my oddly quiet times.
There you go. You had a sandwich in your mouth. I know. That's okay. All right. So those of you who are listening, now is the time to ask questions on this. I can go ahead and share a little more information. As a matter of fact, I will. I'm going to just share some, and then you break in and you tell me when you've got the next question. How's that?
Sure.
So, one of the things that if you do truly want to learn more, I've got 2 opportunities for you. One is called the ALF Fast Track. I used to call it the 3-day Fast Track, but realistically it's 90 days. And in that 90-day Fast Track, to learn more, it really starts off with a couple of things. And there's also a home study course, and I'll tell you about that as well. But it starts off with some pre-training training. So I give you some online sessions that you can learn from at your own pace at home. Then you come to a 3-day training. During that 3-day training, day 1, we're in the classroom. How do you find existing homes that are for sale? Typically not listed on the MLS or LoopNet or BizBuySell. So I'll show you how to find them, how to fund them, how to put the deals together, how to work with private lenders like those listening here, or work with banks or SBA loans and so on, how to get licensed, what hoops to jump through, how to fill in the paperwork, how to get the residents in the home. What marketing do you do? So day one is an intensive day in the class. Day two, we get on a bus. We go in the field. You go out to see my homes. You'd never get this experience anyplace else because nobody's going to let you traipse through their home learning about their business except for me. So you come to my homes, you see them from the inside out, meet the managers, the caregivers, the residents, the paperwork, the documentation, and we talk about everything. Ask me questions. Why did you do this? What about this? And how does this work? You've learned it, you've heard about it, but now it's the real deal. It's the context for the content. So day two is very important. Day three, we come back into the class and we look at the properties that we've seen, because we also go look at homes that are for sale that can be renovated and licensed. We also, if we can, look at businesses that are open and for sale. And we come back and we talk about that. Which ones are good deals? What information do we need to know? What's important? If I were to present myself to a private lender, what are they going to want to ask? So we put those together, and by the end of that 3-day process, the whole goal for everyone there is so that they have the confidence to be able to walk into any market. Doesn't matter if it's where you live now, any market, and either find or create this business and be able to do it. Find it, fund it, operate it, have other people doing the day-to-day, but you can do this. So at that point, then I give people 90 days of support. So that 90 days of support is after the training itself. Call me, email me, talk to me directly. I don't have a team of people underneath me to do it. I'm the one that you talk to, and I'll answer your questions for you. So during those 90 days, I'm also providing to you the policies and procedures, residence agreements, spreadsheets, and checklists to operate the business. And I also give you the home study course so you could review everything as many times as you want. That 3-day training, yes, you're welcome to bring your spouse or a business partner or a distant cousin or relative, I don't care. So you're able to bring somebody with you to the training. And my whole goal is to get you up and running quickly. So within 3 to 6 months, you've got your first home. And if you have a home or you want to buy the real estate and lease it to somebody, if you can do that within a few months' time, well, you could be set for life from just doing that. So that's the 90-day fast track, that 3-day training, documents, spreadsheets, checklists. You can bring a partner with you for free, 90 days of support following the class, and the home study course is included. If you just want to get the home study course, that is 6 DVDs, 10 hours of training, no support, but it's a lot of information. It's kind of equivalent to having the CD versus going to the concert with a backstage pass and hanging out with the band. So it just depends on how you want to do this and what level of help you want from it. So those of you who have questions, now is a great time to ask. I'm just throwing it out there to you.
I've got one for you. Just had
Good.
to hit that button so you could actually hear me. So Steve Clark's online, and he's asking, in California, 5 or less residents requires no licensing for board and care types of facilities. How successful have you found these small facilities or fare overall?
Great question. In California, 5 or less board and care, no license. I don't like the whole concept of no license. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. If you don't have a license and you can operate with no caregiver has a certificate, there is no manager, there is no rules that you're following, hey, you got great freedom, but you have tremendous, tremendous risk. It's not a medical facility, but I'm going to suggest that you should do this above board, licensed, doing everything that you need to do to run a legitimate business and be safe and protected. If it's unlicensed, you can't even get liability insurance. I wouldn't do that. So if you're in California and you have 6 people, now you can get a license and you can do that business virtually anywhere. But a lot of people stop at 6. And the reason why they do that is because they don't have to put in fire suppression or smoke detectors and follow a lot of the other rules. Why? Because they're penny wise and pound foolish. It's just being silly. They're also doing it because they're like, well, one caregiver can take care of 5 or 6 people. Well, yeah, I guess they can, but is that the level of care that you want to provide? Sometimes you need more than one set of hands. So if you just think differently, let me spend 20 grand and put in a sprinkler system. Now I can have 10 people or 12 people instead of 5 or 6. If I have 12 people paying me 4 grand, well, that's $48,000. If I have 6 people paying me 4 grand, it's $24,000. Okay, what do I have to do? I've got to pay off my $20,000 once to make an extra $24,000 a month. But Gene, you got the extra caregiver. Okay, there's another 4 grand. So I'm going to make an extra $15,000 to $20,000 a month legit every month for the rest of my life. Would I spend 20 grand to do that? Absolutely. So what I find, Steve, is a lot of people, they look at what it takes to get into this business and say, oh, I can't do it, it's too much work, too hard for me. And that's okay, because I want to keep people out to some extent. If they're not willing to jump through the hoop, then they're never going to be in the business. But the good news is, once you jump through the hoop, you're on the other side, and the cash is flowing, and it's all good. So even in California, there's plenty of 6-bed facilities or less. I'm going to suggest you want to go more than that. The numbers just work so much better. Great.
Okay. So Louis is on, and he says, how do you handle a resident that stops paying due to him or her running out of money?
You know, I laugh because I just want you to think about the dynamics here. Somebody's moving into the assisted living facility, number one, usually has family. If it's just themselves, you've checked out their finances and you know exactly how much money they have. So let's just say they're 3 months away from running out of their own money. Well, at that point, you would put them in touch with the state to go through the application to be accepted by the state to get, you know, reimbursed or subsidized by the state. Once they're qualified for that, then if you're not willing to accept what the state's willing to pay, you're just going to refer them to a home that will. So you're not going to boot them out on the street. Here's your, you know, duffel bag and go away. You're going to move them, refer them to another home, make sure they're moved in comfortably and safely, and on you go. Fill the room with another private paying resident. Now, that's the situation where somebody doesn't have family. Realistically, most people do have some family. They come and they have a budget in mind. Here's what I can afford. And then you need to dig into it a little bit and say, well, what are you basing that on? They say, well, we have $200,000 and it needs to last for the next 4 years. Okay, so their assumption is that dad's going to last for 4 years. Okay, you're asking $5,000 a month. They can afford $4,000 a month. You could say to them, you know what, I get that. What we'll do is we'll sign up to a 4-year agreement. It's month to month. But the first year is going to be at $6,000 a month. Second year is at $5,500 a month. And then the third and fourth year, we'll make it at $3,500 a month. Now, why would I do that? 1, I'm getting more money up front. 2, dad may not last to year 3 and 4. So there's different ways to make it happen, but as somebody gets to the end of the line of their money and their assets, keep in mind the kids many times are the ones that are paying for this. They're going to come up with the money. They're going to do whatever they have to do to pay the money. And if they're not living in your home, they're going to live in somebody else's and pay the money. So I don't want you to feel bad about that. I had somebody recently who they said, you know, mom has been in this room, it's $5,500 a month. Is there a lower room, a lower priced room that we could move her to? And the answer is yes. I've got a room. She can move just right next door in the bedroom there. It's a lot smaller and it's $4,000 a month. So they're making the decision, is it worth paying $55,000 for the bigger room or $4,000 for the smaller room? I'm willing to help them with that, but it's not all of a sudden it's like, hey, we ran out of money and we don't have jobs anymore. They're going to end up paying for it. Long answer. I'll try to do shorter. Go ahead.
Well, we don't have another question coming in right now, but if we do, or if somebody thinks of a question, you can go ahead and send the email over and to info@AAPL Online, and then I'll get that to Jean, and we can always answer any extra questions outside of today's webinar.
Do you want me to put you as the presenter?
Yeah, let's go ahead, and I'll go ahead and let people know what we've got coming up.
Sounds good. Here you go. Tag your it.
Well, thanks. Okay, I'm hoping the screen that everybody's seeing has the upcoming AAPL presentations. I'm only going to give you 2, even though we're pretty booked all the way through September. So if you are getting emails, fantastic. Pay attention to see what's going on. If you're not, please let us know, and we'll go ahead and get you signed up so you keep getting those notifications. But the next is Steve Clark, who also asked a very great question today. He's going to present on managing the risk of the private lender on Wednesday, June 10th. And then again, depending on your time zone, 11 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 on the East. Then again on June 24th, it's Guarino Law Firm with the new alternatives to Rule 506. It's the Reg A+. That's Wednesday, June 24th. Now, for those of you who have attended a lot of our webinars, notice the change in time on this one. We're scooting it up a little bit. It'll be 1 o'clock on the West Coast and 4 on the East Coast. And then, of course, at the end of each of my presentations, I offer all of our attendees a special offer from AAPL. So if you're a non-member, you can get 25% off any level of your membership. You're going to have to do this by June 3rd. Now, I know a couple of you have taken us up on the Memorial Day offer. We don't combine the offers, but they are both 25% off. But if you see this one, it just kind of looks like you get a little bit of an extension to get that discount. For those that are members, we have a $50 off a professional training center. So if you do need to update any of your designations for renewal for this year, this could be a great time to get a little discount into all of that training for that curriculum. And again, if it's time for you to renew, 25% off, but you do have to do it by June 3rd. Any questions? Of course, you can always contact me directly. Call us at 913-888-1250 or use the info at aaplonline.com. And so, just to end it, I want to thank everybody for their participation today. And Jean, thank you always for all the great information. You're a fantastic presenter. Well, being up to partner with you. And again, thank you again. We appreciate your time and your participation this afternoon. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.